Am I Mental is a live podcast, and as such, we start each episode with a 5-minute instrumental to allow people to join the chat room and not miss the beginning of our actual broadcast. If you are listening to this after it has been aired, feel free to skip ahead to the 5-minute and 30-second mark in order to pick up the episode. Otherwise, if you like instrumentals, enjoy. The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to Am I Mental? A live podcast where people share stories about how mental health impacts life and life impacts mental health. I'm your host, E, and with us tonight is co-host Sarah.
Hey guys.
And, good news. We have a guest tonight. So, if you remember, a few weeks ago we had Nick on, and he was talking about how over the last year he kind of went through a lot, having a home delivery that wound up, for birth, that wound up being a stillborn, the challenge that goes with that, and how he and his wife actually wound up pulling together closer, and their relationship got stronger because of it. And then he was blessed with a baby boy that he brought home just before like the day that I basically said, "Hey, haven't seen you in a while. You want to do the podcast again?" He was like, "Yeah." Well, now we get the other side of the story. We have his wife on. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name's Alexandra. And I'm here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and give us a little background here?
Okay, so forgive me if I'm a little awkward. I haven't done something like this before, so
it's okay. And also you have a lot of distractions around you since Nick, that son of a bitch, isn't there to help you.
Yeah. I know, he was supposed to be back. He's actually helping a friend move, so he's doing stuff like, he's making extra money for us, but he's helping other people out. But yeah, it's inconvenient. Oh well.
It's very informal, so don't worry.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're very conversational. We get sidetracked, we go down the rabbit hole occasionally. So it's all good.
Great. Okay, good. So, a little bit of background, I've been a mom, so I'm 30 years old. I've been a mom. Xavier, our 13-year-old, was my first step into motherhood as a stepmama. So, mama of 5. I consider 5 since our little angel passed. And yeah, we got our 5th one right here. This is our little rainbow baby. That's what we'd call him.
Aw. By the way, for those that can't see because you guys don't have video, he is adorable.
Oh, thank you. He is so cute. It's ridiculous.
And his name is Hiram, right?
Hiram, yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. I love that name. I actually have a great uncle that has Hiram as a middle name, Jesse Hiram.
Oh, cool. I haven't met anybody personally with the name Hiram. So yeah, we got it. Nick got it from the Bible. He built Solomon's temple, Hiram Abith. So we after that.
Nice.
It was like last minute too. Nick was like, well, we should name him. We were going to go with C, like SEA. And then Nick was like, last week, he's all, we should name him Hiram. I was like, okay.
Actually, what's funny about SEA is that my oldest, those are his initials.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
And it was an accidental. It wasn't like they went, "Hey, let's go ahead and give him the initials SEA. Now let's figure out the name."
How cute. Do you guys ever call him C?
Oh, he hates it.
Okay.
So, yeah. He's like, "That's not my name, Dad."
Oh.
Actually, what's really cool is that he is technically my stepson, and one of the long-standing jokes that we had when I was still married to his mom is, don't make me treat you like what you are. He's all redheaded stepchild because he is redheaded.
How old is he?
He is now. Oh, he's almost 30 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, no, I think he's like 28 now. 27, 28. He has a 2-year-old. Yeah.
Oh, precious.
So let's talk a little bit about the history here. So what Nick talked about before was that you've had 2 C-sections,
Yes.
and then you really, really wanted to do a home birth.
Yes. You know, it actually goes from the beginning. Guys, can you go in the room and do that, please? Guys, go in the room. Oh, go, Zave. Can you go find Mr. Zave? There. Bye-bye. Okay.
Get on the PlayStation. Get on the computer. Get on the Xbox. Something. Just get out of here.
Oh, okay. So it actually goes back to our firstborn, Angelina. So I had planned actually a birth center birth. I had like the money set aside for it, and a series of unfortunate events happened, and Nick ended up, going down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And then so he wasn't around, and then my water broke really early. Baby, go. Yeah. and my water broke at 20, what was I? It was 23 weeks. So premature rupture of my membranes.
Oof.
Yeah, and it was in the middle of the night randomly. And I actually drove myself to the hospital, and they were like, "Yeah, you have to stay here until she's born." And I'm like, "Wait, what? I'm only 22 weeks pregnant, And they were like, "Well, she's doing fine in there, but you lost the fluid, so we have to monitor you and all this stuff." And so, long story short, on that one, Angelina was born at 28 weeks, so she actually stayed in there for a while when the sac broke, and that's what started the C-section.
And for people that may not be aware, 40 weeks. That's where you as a full term. Now you could be born 38 weeks. That's fine.
38.
That's the full term. But yeah, they want you to get to 38 at a minimum. So yeah, you're about 10 weeks ahead of what they would consider full term.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So she came, and she was 2 pounds, born 2 pounds, immediately went on, CPAP, oxygen, all that. She survived. She actually thrived. So we were in the NICU for like 3 months, and that's what started the emergency C-section. The type of C-section that they gave me, or the incision, I guess you could call it. The type is it was called classical. So they make an abdominal incision, and then they make a stomach incision. So it goes like, it kind of like makes a T. Does that make sense?
So like from belly button to bikini line, and then bikini line across.
Yeah. So, but
okay.
Basically, you can't actually see it on your stomach. So, and I had to do all this research in order to get prepared for, what I'm going to go into about Myalila, the home birth, because classical C-section is actually one of the ones they say that you cannot ever have like a vaginal birth again, because of how dangerous it might be to go into labor even. And so I was devastated. I remember thinking like, I want more kids, and go baby, go, you could do it. You can do it. Turn on the light. Anja, go with him. Go, King.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but there's something that I don't think a lot of people understand about being pregnant and motherhood, and the way that feels. It almost feels like there's a right that you have as a woman to have a baby and to go through, the process of birth. And when something makes it so that that can't happen. You almost feel like something's been taken away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. It just felt like it felt like my body, like they were telling me my body wasn't going to be able to do what it's supposed to do naturally ever again.
Yeah.
And it was, I was really set on, I was prepared to give birth naturally, and it just didn't happen the way it and that's how pregnancies are. That's how births end up being. It's like you plan for something and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait.
Life is what happens when you're off making other plans.
Right? Who said that? That is a famous quote. I know that quote.
Yeah, it is, and I can't remember who it is either.
Ooh, okay. Now this one's getting us. And anyway, so basically what I'm kind of laying out the platform for you guys for the type of, the work that had to be done in the beginning. And so with Kingston, I ended up doing a repeat C-section because they were basically like, no, you cannot do a vaginal birth. So I just, I didn't argue. I tried to tell them like, hey, I think I deserve like a trial of labor, and they were just not for it. And Nick was flying in from Texas, so in rehab, and it just was like too messy. And nobody wanted to do the whole natural thing. They were like, you're crazy, don't do that, just do what they tell you. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, when I brought it up to my wife about your story, she is a nurse, OR nurse, and she's worked in labor and delivery for years. She was like, they did what? I'm like, honey, just because you're it's like, I understand where you're coming from. I really do. But you also didn't face the situation that they're in. You were able to have natural births.
Yeah. Yeah.
And meanwhile, just really fast, in the chat room, we have a new listener, Alice, who joined us on the Discord this last week. They're a brand new first time in the chat room. They told us exactly who said that quote that you gave, Sarah, and that was John Lennon. And then Bexy went ahead and quoted it,
right.
Too. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
This is why I love having a chat room.
Right. Which I need to get into because I have not yet.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt you there. I just wanted to let you know that we actually have some listeners, and yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, hello. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, we have Kat, Richard, Alice, and Bexy's in there. Bexy is a former co-host, is still a major part of this podcast.
Oh, cool.
Love having her in there. Oh, yay. Okay, so Alice actually sings that song to her boys, by the way.
Oh.
All right, so back to your story. So,
where was I?
You were talking about the second birth with Kingston.
Oh, with Kingston. Okay, so Kingston, we just did repeat C-section. And then, 18 months had gone by after Kingston's birth. Everything went fine. It was okay. 18 months went by, and we got pregnant with Maya Lila. And, I remember thinking, I really want to try the natural birth, but I knew that there had to be, I was actually reading books on it. I was reading like other women's stories on how they've, there's women out there that were able to, give birth. It's called a VBAC. And then there's, VBAC, so vaginal birth after 2 cesarean. Lots of women that are out there that have been able to do that. And so I was really inspired, actually. I was like, these are women telling their stories on how they were able to trust their body, and everything turned out fine, and they had the help that they needed to embrace that, and they had a supportive partner. And at this point in Nick and I's relationship, we were we had been together for we just got married actually. We were together for 2.5 years before we got married.
Okay.
And got married that same 2020, and then 3-4 months later we got pregnant with Maya Leela. So we're 4 months fresh into our marriage, and I wanted to experience that. I wanted him to experience the natural birth. I wanted I wanted to trust my body, and so I hired a doula. I hired a midwife.
I was gonna say before you get to that, what happened. I'm just gonna say, like, what happened with your daughter. I mean, it was an absolute tragedy. But based on my own research on it, because I did my own little background research on it, and I'm not a medical professional, so just take it with a grain of salt. What happened had nothing to do with the fact that you did not go and have another C-section or go and
right.
What happened. It's something that can happen to anyone, and it sucks.
Yeah.
So if anyone's listening and they're getting all upset because you didn't follow your doctor's advice, you went with what your heart was telling you, and then this happened. No, they're not related. These are completely not related events.
That's what I was going to go into, because the amount of, I actually had, so disclaimer, I guess you could say, I actually had a scheduled C-section for Maya Leela. And are you okay? It's all good. Let me see. You're good, baby. Okay. Where's Mr. Zave? Okay, go, baby.
Hi, buddy.
This is Kingston.
Hi, Kingston.
Hi, sweetie.
Oh, he's a handsome little devil.
He is little. He looks like Nick a lot, too.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sarah got to see Nick, but yeah, there's
no.
He's a chubby cheeked version of Nick.
Yeah.
Oh.
So funny you say that. Chubby cheek version of Nick. Yeah. Okay, get out of here, little guy. Mama. I love you. Go. Okay, go ask Zabe. He's in the room. Go ask him.
Yeah, so when I get to see Nick again, I'm gonna have words for him for this.
I know, right? I told him, I was like, hey, can you please try to make it back? And I did not want to bail on you again, because this was the very reason that I wasn't able to do it last time. Okay, Xavier, please come here.
All right, so it's official. It's Nick's fault.
Yeah, it's all his fault.
Okay.
Xavier, can you please watch them in your room real quick for me? Yeah, sure. I'm doing something super important. Just like 30 minutes tops, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Xavier.
That's the bonus to having a 13-year-old. He's actually very helpful.
And I met him a couple years ago as well. Good kid.
You did?
Yeah, back when Nick was still working at the corner store.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I live a block away from there. So, I'm 2 blocks from your house, just so you know.
Right. I did meet you briefly.
You did, briefly, outside my front door, practically.
Yes, I remember now. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're selling Girl Scout cookies, by the way.
Hey, I saw
Yeah, they're now $6 a box. They had to go up $1 because of inflation and the cost of eggs. But they're still, $6 for a box. What was that?
You have the caramel delights?
Oh, of course.
Oh, okay. I'm coming over.
make Nick buy him as punishment.
I feel like we need some Thin Mints in our life over here when you come in at E.
Oh, man. I love Thin Mints. Those are my favorite.
So good. So, Alexandra, were you angry at the resistance that you were getting from the nurses and the doctors, and essentially, even though you told them that you understood the risks, but that, essentially this was your body, you had seen that it had worked for other people, and, all of that. Were you angry or upset at the resistance you were getting from everyone essentially telling you that you couldn't?
Yes, but in a very reserved manner. I did not disrespect any of my nurses or doctors that were trying to, tell me what.
Oh no, I just meant the way you were feeling, when because you're kind of sitting there in a chair and it's one of the most, you know, important times in a woman's life, and you had to feel like you didn't have much of a voice.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yes. Yes. So yeah, to put it, yeah, totally. I was. I was really, 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 set on it for so long, but it was my first pregnancy. And then, and hearing all the other stories from women, I was like, I can do it, and I wasn't scared. I was not scared. I had full confidence in my body to be able to do it.
And also with your midwife, if she's a registered midwife, licensed
Yes.
registered midwife, if there were any complications that were coming from your previous C sections, because I mean, like I said, I looked into it. I talked to my wife. Researched it. Their biggest concerns are quite literally where your C section happened before. That part of your body is still weakened, and
Right.
during the pushing, you could rupture there. It could make it to where the baby gets stuck. If it's a risk to you, it's a risk to the baby. But that's what the midwife's job is, to monitor that. So if you start to have a problem, boom, 911.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And they have plans in place for
Yeah.
contingencies of just about everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why, I mean, that's part of the doula's role as well. Like my doula was really, she was pushing for me too. She was like, you should do this, girl. You should do this, and she helped me find the midwife, and this midwife was certified in home birth, and VBAC after 2 cesareans as well. And so,
nice.
yeah, it was like, I was not going to do it unless I had that safety net.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you had the proper support system. Well, so you thought.
Yeah. 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 That too. So I don't know if Nick told he told you about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, he told us all about your Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we definitely would love to get your story on that too when we get to that point.
Yes. Guide me. I know. Now I'm like, okay, what do I say now?
Well, no, we want your story. So like, tell it as it's your story. Because again, it may be the same story, but it's your version of the events, what you saw, what you felt, what you were going through. So it gives us a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I could go back to the doing the research. So like being inspired by all the women. Not only that, but like I was going to see the regular doctor too, and we had regular doctor, the OBGYN. And my placenta was not attached to the scar tissue.
That's good.
And it was like all the ducks were in order for this home birth to happen. And so I was so excited to meet our baby girl. We were just, and then I even made Nick take a class with me on being the coach, the husband birth coach.
I've been to those classes.
Yeah, and he went to those classes with me, and we had a great time. And then we finished the class, and then right after we finished the class, that's when I started showing signs of labor. But it was just very, very slow. I started getting like the Braxton Hicks contractions, so like false contraction.
Back
It was
labor.
it was back labor, and it was a little bit in the front, and basically so
people who don't know what Braxton Hicks contractions are, it's kind of like your body's warming up for it. Yeah. They're like practice contractions.
They call them practice contractions. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So and then we got sick. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I started having labor signs after we had gotten sick with I don't know what it was. I mean, it could have been coronavirus, but we healed really fast from it. We just stayed home, ate soup, rested, and we all got better. But I was pretty sick. It was like fever, chills.
Yeah,
And
in our area, we actually had both COVID and influenza A coming through at the same time. So
oh yeah,
who knows?
yeah. See, I hadn't been sick in so long. I forgot what it was like to be sick.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I don't like hearing that. I mean, I do for you, but I get sick all the time.
Yeah, I take really good care of myself. I'm very healthy. I make sure to stay hydrated, get lots of sunshine, exercise.
Hey, I've seen you guys out walking the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got sick and it was pretty bad, and then shortly after I went into labor, and labor went as far as like, nobody ever really knows the signs of a still birth. Sometimes it happens and like women don't know. Like in my case, like I had no bleeding at all. Not even like a little tiny bit. I had all the regular signs of labor, contractions, all that. I told my midwife, well, it was like 5 a.m. Thanksgiving morning, 2021. I was like, okay, it's happening. She's coming soon, and I knew it. I knew what to look for, since it basically was like my first time in labor, like giving my body that opportunity to be, in labor. C-section, they don't let you do that. No. With my firstborn, it was an emergency C-section, so they actually like had me under, so I was like not even aware of what was going on. But yeah, so first time experiencing labor, just breathing through it, in and out of the tub, and my doula was really supportive. Nick was very supportive. Like, they were holding me, and then what was like 5 a.m. to around 2:30 p.m. That's when she was born. But still, and it was right on the couch.
And the
I remember having
midwife
that
was nowhere to be found, according to
Nick.
Nick.
Midwife. We had talked to her. I remember Nick, and I'm in labor, so I barely even. I told Claudette. Oops, I don't know if I'm supposed to say the name.
I don't know, and we can't edit it either. It's live.
Oh, yeah. Midwife. I told the midwife, I'm showing all signs. I'm in pain. I was timing my contractions, doing all this stuff. And she was like, I remember her voice on the other end of the phone. She goes, fuck. Like, I'm like, wait, what? Like, it sounded like she was
like you were interrupting her life, and it was
yeah. I remember thinking like, but I'm just like focusing on my breath. But at the same time, I remember thinking like, I wondered if she was thinking like I was full of shit. Some midwives think like some women like have false labor and they're not.
Right.
Yeah. But this was
at the same time, it's like, you're a midwife. This is what you signed up for.
Right.
I'm sure you checked the calendar and went, hey, this lines up kind of close to Thanksgiving.
Yep. It was close to my due. Well, I was 39 weeks, or was it 30? Yeah, it was 38 and 4 days.
That's still, yeah.
You were like right on time.
Yeah.
So
she should have known that could have been a possibility.
Yeah.
Just saying.
She was so supportive too in the beginning. When I first hired her, she was like, you deserve a chance. Like, she's like, you deserve a chance to experience this. And, and we can make that happen. And then nothing, I actually, so I don't know where to go from here. There were so many emotions going on during that time. I remember looking down at our daughter, and I was I don't know. I don't remember thinking anything really. I just remember looking down at her and I held her hand and I was just like, oh, like I didn't, to me, it wasn't like she was dead. I don't know how to describe it. But I remember thinking like, I, I remember hearing like this warm voice in my head that she was okay. And so I remember thinking, okay, God is like talking to me right now and telling me like she's gonna be okay. We called 911. We got the ambulance was here literally like it was so fast. It was like less than 10 minutes. Like I swear it was like 5 minutes, but my perception of time was off. But I
Well, I
remember
mean,
them being
at the same
that.
time, it's like I know where the ambulance dispatch is from. It's only less than a mile from us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a matter of getting the people in the ambulance and go.
Yeah, they were so fast. I remember thinking like when they scooped her up, I was like, "Can I come with you guys in there?" Because I didn't want to be separated. And they were like, "Well, we have to get her, on oxygen." Like they were trying to already perform, um, CPR on her and everything. There was a cop here. There was so many people here, and
Yeah, that's one thing
uh,
that Nick did say was that the police were very awesome because they walked into a unknown medical basically, and they
yeah,
saw him covered face to and body in blood, and
yeah.
they didn't overreact.
No, they were, I mean, everybody, I remember seeing people's faces and they were just like, they just wanted to help. And
And that's one thing I
Right.
have to say about the police in our town. They are, I mean, they're hard asses. Not gonna lie, they are, but
yeah,
they're good.
yeah, oh, yeah,
80% of the police in our community live in our community. That's why they're good. They have a
yeah,
vested interest in treating people well here.
yeah.
And in the
Well, not
chat, you have Bexy sending all the hugs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
not
it what a trip. It just, I don't, I just, I don't even know what else to say. It just, after I had heard that like warm voice in my head, and I'm going into the ambulance was, like it to me it felt like there was a message being sent to me that like she was gonna be okay, like she was gonna be alive. I hadn't you never think it's gonna happen to you, so you're like, no, my baby's not gonna die.
That
And
always
then
happens to somebody else.
yeah,
oh,
it happened to somebody else. And so I remember, within 30 minutes or so, I tore pretty bad and they were stitching me up. And they came back and they was like, we tried everything, but your daughter didn't make it. And I was like, what? I just heard the voice in my head saying, she's home. I heard she's home. She's going to be home. It's okay.
looking back on that now, do you feel like that was him telling you that, she was with him?
Yeah, that's exactly. Because I remember, like, yeah, it just, you hear that. And I know it was not my voice. I know that's maybe it sounds crazy to some people, but it
No,
was my
This
voice.
is no.
no, I've heard that very same, it's gonna be okay in my head about something different. And it was something very similar where I took it to mean what I wanted it to mean. Um, and then later you kind of look back and you go, okay, I see what you were really saying now. And it is okay, just not in the way that I was expecting, you know.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Right on the nose, because that's what I heard is like, she's okay. And then I'm like, wait, time went by and I was like, oh my God, that was God, or, you know, a higher
Yeah.
being telling me that
Yeah.
she was okay. And yeah, it just, you know, there's not a day that goes by where I don't think of her or I don't consider her as like one of my children.
Of course,
Like,
she always will be.
yeah.
Yeah, Nick says the same exact thing too. when he was on his episode with us.
Yeah, that's our baby. That's our daughter.
Of course she is. And I don't know, if you believe in God or,
Oh,
whatever,
absolutely.
but
After this
I feel
experience,
like
it was like no doubt in my mind. I actually, I don't have a background on, like, I was never raised in church or, fed, what told what to believe and all that. I actually had the freedom to decide. And um, after this experience, I actually, I believe, I don't know what to call it because I don't want to call it anything like religion type, but I believe in,
that
and I believe that Jesus, the story of Jesus resonates. I kind of see the story of Jesus resonating with our daughter, our
it
daughter's.
that voice was a very similar experience for me. I was raised in church, but I never believed.
Mhm.
I
And
was
then
also raised
that
in church, and I was actually an altar boy, so I did
and
Oh,
believe.
and it hits me as that when they talk about God having that still small voice, that's what it was like. That's kind of what it feels like to me. Is that and incredibly powerful. There's no doubt about what it's saying. It's very clear, like a bell.
yep,
But and like I said, I took it to mean what I wanted it to mean, where later you look back and you're like, okay, he knew I needed to hear that right then, even if I didn't fully understand it.
yep,
So I'm just
yeah,
gonna say I've never experienced this, and based on the context from what I'm hearing, I don't ever want to experience this.
yeah,
Um,
it is one of those darkest moment kind of things, but at least it was for me, and it sounds like it definitely was for you.
yeah. I
Um,
was When I heard that voice, I was in the ambulance looking up, thinking about her. Not really worrying, but just like thinking about her, just remembering her face. And then that's when I heard the voice.
someone escaped from Xavier's room.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead, baby. Go ahead. Can you turn on the light, save, honey? Thank you. Oh, we don't have any more. I just realized that.
oh my gosh, Alice! I know that Alice.
Yeah. In the chat room, Kat asked, "Who's chopping onions?" Because everyone's starting to
Yeah,
cry. Sarah's all right. Alice is all right. And I'm like, we're all tearing up, and I'm trying hard not to. I'm really trying hard not to. It's like one of us has got to keep our composure here. Please let it be me.
I know. I didn't think I was
No,
gonna, but I
yeah,
am.
it happens. I mean, you went through a very powerful thing, and I mean, when you're retelling it in such detail, you can't help but to relive it to some degree.
Yeah.
those feelings. It's like you cannot be thinking about it, but as soon as you start to say it, it's just right there, right in your throat. But
Yep.
as far as her being your daughter, I have always incredibly strongly believed that children are gifts, and God doesn't give you anything to take it away. She is still yours.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
I have raised 4 kids. I have fathered 4 kids, but I have not necessarily. They're not all necessarily the same 4 kids. So I count that I have 5 kids because of the way it all lines up.
Yep.
Much like you with
Yep.
Xavier.
Yep. Yeah. He's our biggest baby.
I'm sure he loves hearing that as a teenager.
Oh,
Probably gave you that "what you talk about, Willis" look.
yeah.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
No, not all teenagers are the same.
No, he's a sweet.
No. They all have similar traits, though. We
Yeah.
gotta admit that.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So
good.
what else have you found, like, how else has this changed you other than, your belief now? Nobody comes out of an experience like this unscathed, and
Faith stronger than ever. I never, you know, I started reading the Bible. I started going to church, like, and I'm still kind of discovering, things here and there. So my faith grew for one. And Nick and I, we've always had sort of a tumultuous relationship, but madly in love with each other. Which, I mean, so many people can relate to that. Um, but we never gave up on each other. That's one thing. And after this experience, after everything that we had been through, this kind of put like just wrapped everything up for us and made us softer towards each other. I remember like right after it happened, him and I hadn't like fought in like what it was like 6 months or so. We hadn't fought. We stopped bitching at each other. We stopped, you know, blaming each other. We stopped, there was no animosity. Like it felt like there was zero animosity in Nick and I's relationship after that happening.
Yeah, it's
So
a lot of times, an event like that can rip a relationship to shreds. It's
exactly.
awesome to hear that you guys actually got stronger and closer from it.
Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, it was cool.
yeah, it seems like that goes, one or two ways. Either it will bring you closer together or it tears you completely apart. I'm glad to hear that it was the former and not the latter. Nick
Yeah.
Nick talked quite a bit about his sort of
Uh-oh.
path to healing.
She just vanished. She'll be back.
Hopefully we'll get her back.
We'll get her back. I'm not too worried. I did see a glitch a moment ago, too. So I was kind of wondering if the app was about to crash. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully she'll be back.
Hopefully. Meanwhile, Alice is talking about her pilfer items from her mom's in the chat, which is awesome.
Yeah, Alice's mom passed a little bit ago, and so she was talking about the tissues and stuff that she took from her apartment.
Okay, I'm back.
You're back.
I'm so sorry.
No, I saw it glitch.
No, you're fine. Yeah, we saw a little blip, and then so we figured,
No, it's someone's
fun.
Call me, and I don't. I'm trying
just
to
a minute.
end it.
You just rage quit on us. We get it. Stop talking about my husband. Click.
Click.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you, guys.
No, you're fine. But so I was asking, Nick talked quite a bit about what like his, healing process has been, how it was sort of for him immediately after and kind of finding, balance again. But that, being I know that, parents are parents, but it always seems to me like being a mom, that's a whole sort of different ball of wax in your case. So
I part of my healing process after that, I'm just gonna be straight up. I was still working. Part-time. So it wasn't a lot. But I tried to take shifts, as many shifts as possible. I remember thinking I just wanted to work. And then
so you tried to bury it in your work.
Yeah, I did. And then I also, I don't know if Nick said this to you or admitted this, but we were both pretty heavily drinking kratom. Did he go into that at all?
He didn't tell us about. He did say that he sobered up after the experience.
Oh yeah,
I take kratom for pain as well, so I'm fairly familiar with it.
Yeah, so we were actually doing, we were drinking the kratom, like 10 to 15 grams a day. So it was it be it began to start feeling like I needed it because I was not physically in pain, but just mentally feeling like I
Right.
couldn't head around all of that. And it helped because, you're familiar with kratom. It mocks like the opiate kind of receptors in your brain. And so it kind of gives you that dopamine reuptake, kind of feeling. And I was definitely, Nick and I were, and you don't even realize that you're abusing it when you do, because after I remember thinking like, okay, like I need this. And then I remember it was like a day where we didn't have it because we weren't within our means of like spending money on it kind of thing. So it was like kind of like an accidental, like we can't have it. And I remember feeling withdrawal symptoms from not drinking it. Like I was having restless leg syndrome, headaches, shakes, like just gnarly withdrawal symptoms that like heroin addicts would experience. Not that I've never done heroin, but this is what I hear. It was close to a heroin like withdrawal type thing. And I remember thinking like, should I go get more? Like, am I ever going to feel? I remember after like recognizing like, oh my gosh, like maybe I was abusing kratom and not knowing it. And I
Right.
remember,
I was just going to
yeah,
say, because there's a difference between like
Let-
helpful medicating yourself and abusing something.
yeah, and you can do that. And after doing kratom so harshly like that, uh, I remember thinking you could get addicted to anything, really.
Yeah.
Like
well,
it's
so
attachment, that it's the relationship that you have with that. And I
yes,
remember right after my Alila, we went straight into drinking it, like, 10, like I said, 10 to 15 grams. It was like I would have like a kratom with every meal too. So it wasn't like I wasn't eating, and it
yeah,
wasn't like life was totally unmanageable while I was drinking it. It just I started noticing a dependency because my body was physically starting to feel like, oh my gosh, I need this, or I'm
yeah.
gonna
So
be, yeah.
let me explain really quick because we got some questions in
Yeah,
this thing, and
I just
there's a
pulled up
lot
the
of
NIH page about
misinformation.
it.
There's a lot of misinformation right now, even in some medical circles, because there's a lot of politicking going on there.
Yes.
There is accurate study information, but so essentially, kratom it's related to the coffee plant.
Hmm.
It's mostly grown in tropical areas. At low doses, it has kind of an energizing effect. At higher doses, it can be somewhat sedative and it can help with pain. It
Hmm.
is not an opiate, but it does affect some of the opiate receptors. So it can be good for pain. It also,
And also,
as
well,
she mentioned,
I was going to
with
say, because of the coffee relation too, it is also does give a stimulant like effect as well.
at
Hmm.
lower doses. Yeah, at
Yeah.
lower doses, you get a stimulant effect, and at higher doses, it's more sedating. Um, and it's very mild. It's not like it does affect opiate receptors, but not entirely. It's a partial agonist, and it has full and even antagonist properties with the whole leaf. So what that means is that it can be self-limiting. It's very hard to before you would take enough to hurt yourself, you would throw up essentially. Um, Now there are extracts which are more dangerous and that type of
Right.
thing, but it's a very mild. Um, but with anything, like she said, there are if you take it multiple times a day, every day, then you can run into some of those same dependency pitfalls that
Yeah.
come with
Right.
regular opiates. And we've talked about that on the show before. It's that's a rough thing to go through, and especially if you're not realizing it, because kratom is so subtle, you don't feel like you're taking like this big heavy drug, and then all of a sudden, if you don't have it, you don't realize that that can happen. It can be kind of nasty.
And
Yeah.
I do want to add on just a little bit more to the end of that. Currently, it's not illegal, but it's not approved by the FDA for any uses. People have been using it for pain management, fatigue, mental health issues, to help with withdrawals from other drugs. There are very small number of deaths, but every single death has been linked to other drugs or contaminants with the kratom, not the kratom itself.
Right. Yes, and it is actually banned in a few states.
Yeah, and there are a lot of places, including the National Institute on Drug Abuse and the National Institute of Health here in the U.S., that they are doing research for kratom to find out where they can use it. So it's one of those where it's a gray area thing.
It is, yeah.
It's essentially a supplement at the moment, but not.
It's a controversial supplement.
Sort of,
yeah,
exactly. It is a controversial
I worked
supplement.
at Elliot's Fine Nutrition. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that
Is
store,
it
but
related to Elliot's Natural Foods?
yeah.
I met the guy that made that jingle. I was like, why'd you make it so clipped and staccato?
Yeah, that was the Sacramento one. I worked at the Citrus Heights one, and we sold it there. You know, it was a red Mangda, the one that we sold in a pill form. Wasn't near as strong as the one in the smoke shops, let me tell you. But yeah.
Yeah. So what's up with that, smokers?
I know, right? I don't know. It was wild. I remember after feeling those withdrawal symptoms, I was like, okay, I got to stop doing this. Like, no questions asked. I'm a mother. I don't need to be, indulging in stuff like that. And so I quit. It was
you had that moment of clarity.
Yeah, I was like it, but there was that fog after I quit. I had about a week of like a really hard depressive episode where I just felt like what's the point of life kind of thing, like the not necessarily suicidal thoughts, but it just was like a really dark place for there. And then,
like you said, your dopamine levels were low, but also it sounds like you were kind of using that to cope for a while and you had lost your coping mechanism.
Exactly. And that's what I realized. I was like, okay, well, so this is normal. What's happening is normal. And I just need to pick myself back up again and get on. And I did. Then shortly after that, we conceived this little guy. So right after I quit kratom, we were like, we kind of looked at each other this one day. We're like, should we? And we kind of, it's like,
you guys look at each other. Barry White starts playing in the background.
Yeah, it just happened, and we were like, okay, well, if it happens, it happens, and bam, right away.
Well, and I don't know if it's funny or cruel or whatever, but women of all species are most fertile immediately after giving birth.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's called, hey, your body's primed for another.
Yep. Yeah, I remember thinking after having her, I was like, I'm never having another child again. I'm never doing this again. And then like 6 months went by and I was like, you know what? I can do it again. For sure. That's
me and Taco Bell. Clearly not going to get a Taco Bell sponsorship after that one. And one thing that Nick was saying, that it took him almost a year to the day to really finally have, like, he had like this wow healing moment. He said he was driving out to Ione. He was listening to a song. Oh, I can't remember the name of the song now. It was a Chinese song. It was beautiful. He sent it to me. And it was like, holy.
Oh, it's the Hazao.
Yes, the Hazao Remains.
Yes, yeah.
And he had the windows down and he just screamed like from his soul. And from then it was like everything just kind of got better. Did you have a moment yourself Maybe not as dramatic, but did you have one?
Oh, yes. There's been lots of moments like that for me. Honestly, it happened. My profound kind of just healing, just wake up kind of thing, I guess you could call it, is and it sounds, I know it can be really awkward for some people to hear this or whatever, but I'm just going to say it. It was when I walked into church. I had never been to church, right? I'd never been to church, and I remember hearing them sing, and I instantly started thinking of our daughter. And I remember just crying. I was trying to hold back the tears, and I was like, no, because I couldn't stop crying for about an hour. And I'm like sobbing in church, like, oh my gosh. And I just felt the overwhelming presence of like just spirit. I just knew, regardless, not just trying to pinpoint any, but I just could feel like the presence of God and my daughter. And that's when it really hit me. Like, that's when I felt like, everything just started getting a little bit more clearer, and we could do this pregnancy kind of thing. Cause I actually just found out I was pregnant with him as well. And yeah, it's just, and then, you go through the whole pregnancy hormone thing. And so that's another trip. Yeah. But yeah, it was that. It was just hearing people singing. And yeah, there's a couple songs for me as well that Nick and I kind of listened to. And yeah, and it was also when Nick and I, when we talk about it pretty often. And not just the event that took place, but we just talk about her as if like she's here, still. And we don't shy away from talking about her.
That's
for sure.
amazing that you can still, keep her a part of your life and your kid's life, and honor her in that way.
Yeah, we tell. Thank you. We tell my daughter, Angelina, she's 4. We tell her, baby Maya is with God now. She's home. So, oh, Daddy's here! Yay!
Hey, it's about damn time. Only,
I know we're about to end too.
Yeah. Yeah, we're an hour into the episode here, and he just now shows up. Good job, Nick. I'm going to give you shit about this. Now,
okay.
I don't. Did you hear his episode? Because I know that he came and he shared a little bit while together with you, but he was alone for a lot of it.
No, I heard the first episode. I heard the first episode like the first one back a while ago. But I did not listen to this one. I need to listen to that.
I would recommend it because there was a part in there that he indirectly apologized to you for doing the typical man thing after the whole event and kind of emotionally walling off while you were trying to reach out.
I did my laundry. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, and if he hears me, he could go ahead and
Hey, brother, man.
Hey, glad you finally made it.
Good to see you. I'm like, busier than a cat burying shit on a marble floor.
Oh, good to see you, man. Well, yeah, he kind of, in his episode, he did, it was when he was away from you. He was out in the car alone. He did indirectly apologize for, you were trying to reach out and you were trying to bond emotionally. You were trying to heal, and he was kind of walled off. And he said he felt like a dick about it after the fact.
Yeah, it's all good. I know. I knew it too. I was like, okay, wait. I'll just wait.
But the fact that he even went as far as apologizing to you indirectly on the podcast really showed how heavily it weighed on his mind.
Oh.
He's such a good dude. Like, seriously.
He is. Well, hey, guys, I hate to cut this off, but we actually have to go to a little birthday dinner for Nick's dad, so
we're
really happy that you came on.
Yeah, thank you To everybody who's listening and listening with an open heart and open mind, thank you. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for listening, and thank you for having me, guys.
And you're welcome to come back anytime. I just have to make sure to like hound you. But
I know, trust me, I get a lot of it.
It's all good. No, seriously, thank you very much. We're not going to end this episode quite yet. There are some end of season things I wanted to talk about, but you can go ahead and go do your thing. Again, thank you very much.
Okay.
You have a beautiful family, Alexandra. Have a good night.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, good night, you guys.
Good night. All right. So, yeah, this is the season finale. This marks the end of 3 years of this podcast.
Wow.
I know you guys heard last week, I was kind of down in the dumps a little bit, and I was spitting out some of the stats and stuff, and I'm gonna say that it hasn't gone. It's not that we haven't talked about it. Austin and I have talked a bit. Jay and I have talked a little bit. C and I have talked a little bit. Sarah and I, we talked just now before the show started. Bexy's talked a little bit, and we are trying to figure out what we're going to do. We are considering a possibility of returning back to Thursdays at 6, considering we had good listenership then. Our listenership from last year to this year is down about 50%. Maybe it was the move. We've had talks about maybe just bumping the time up to 6 and staying on Saturdays. We don't know yet. We're going to discuss it. We will have an announcement when we're going to go again with the new season. That new season, it will start in March. I'm pulling up a calendar now to take a look which week in March we're going to be doing it. The first day of the podcast was March 9th. Now, if we go back to Thursday, it'll be March 9th again, which would be kind of awesome on Bexy's birthday. But we will have an announcement about it because, yeah, I don't want to just bounce this podcast around between times, trying to find that magic spot again, because we may wind up bleeding some people off. Now, please join us in the Discord. Give us your input. Honestly, you're the listeners. You're the ones that we rely on. We want to know what your thoughts are on this. Is Saturday 5 p.m. Pacific time good? Should we bump it to 6? Should we go back to Thursday? Give us your feedback. Let us know. Because quite honestly, we do this. We do this for you guys. Anything you want to add, Sarah?
No, sorry, my dog was like hawking up a hairball, so I had to mute myself. No, just that, the move was aimed at making it both easier for, people to listen and easier for guests to come on. But it doesn't seem like it's, worked out in the way it was intended. So like you said, this is the purpose of this is for you guys and to make it, easier on everybody to get, to have a place to come and listen and feel like, they're not alone. So whatever time and place in the week that works out best is where we want to be.
Exactly. And this whole podcast revolves around having guests, sharing stories, getting in our feels, talking about healing and our struggles and all that. And kind of hard to do if we don't have guests, is what it really boils down to.
Because, we're happy to sit here and rip open our own wounds repeatedly, I guess. But it's always nice to have different perspectives.
Yeah, there's only so many times we can talk about these things, for our own perspective.
Well, and that's what drew me to it in the first place, was there a lot of things in life that make it hard to go through. And so knowing that there are other people like you going through the same thing, even if they're very different, it helps.
One thing I said early on when I started this whole podcast, and it's something I still believe in my core, is that even if your situation that you're going through is completely unique in the entire history of humanity, there are only so many emotions a human can feel, and we've all felt it all. So even if I can't relate to your story, I can still relate to your emotional state. And I think that's really important. It's to let people, to know that just because you may not relate to their story, you may relate to their emotions. And that's powerful.
There's a oh well, I guess it's a Bible verse again, but I hadn't. My mom just used to say this all the time. She wasn't religious, but there's nothing new under the sun, which basically means that anything you're thinking or doing or worried about, there's an extremely high chance that someone else has gone through it as well.
Exactly. And even again, like I was saying, I still remember very vividly the day I heard that my son has CRMS. It hit hard. Not a lot of people know what it's like to hear that your child has CRMS, because hell, a lot of people don't even know what it is. But every single person that's ever got a diagnosis of a medical condition for one of your children knows that feeling. Even if you don't know what CRMS is. We had Dana. His son had a tumor pressing up against his heart. We had Mr. Blonde, season 2, like season premiere of season 2, or not season premiere, episode 2, I think. His son had an inoperable brain tumor. We all, like every parent out there can relate to that, that's had that diagnosis. And even parents that haven't had that, they've been lucky to avoid it. You can put yourself in those shoes going, my God, how would I feel if that was my kid?
Yeah, you still, all parents live in that, sort of zone of fear, the what ifs and the protecting and yeah, that's a very identifiable place to be, I think.
Yeah. So,
and ultimately that's what humanity is. It's the interconnection of us. Very few things that we do, doesn't affect someone else.
I mean, they do say that like music is a universal language. I think also emotion is another.
Yeah.
I mean, what is music other than, eliciting emotions?
Yeah. And there are universal facial expressions that, that people make all over the world that can't understand a word coming out of each other's mouth.
Pretty much everybody understands what a big smile and laughing is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have some planning that we have to do. By all means, please, if you're in our Discord, jump on in, share with us. If you're not, go to mimental.net. If you're on a computer or a device that can actually show the icons in the upper right-hand corner without the menu, you'll see a Discord icon. Otherwise, if you're on a mobile device like an iPhone, you'll see just tap the menu button and then you'll see the Discord icon. It's an open invite. Just jump on in. If you don't have an account, create an account. It takes 30 seconds to create an account. Come and have a discussion with us. Let's talk about what works with you guys. Most of us are fairly flexible to an extent where we can get this to work. Yeah. We'll definitely have an announcement. We'll definitely have an announcement before we go live. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, and the Discord is, a great community, even if, you want to join, but not necessarily have a way in one way or the other on the night.
Yeah, and we have, in the Discord, we goof off there. We have our jokes. We have a memes area. Suggestions. Specifically for that, we have an area for life lessons, things where it's like, today I learned. Yeah, some days the Discord's busier than others. It's not the busiest Discord in the world. I'd like to see it get busier, obviously. But right now we're not there, and that's fine. But that's definitely where we want to go when we start talking about, what the future of this podcast is going to be. But yeah, no, definitely thank you everyone for this great ride so far. Hopefully this ride keeps on going. I'm not willing to pull the plug on this podcast yet. I won't stop this podcast unless there's really no hope. And I'm not there yet. I felt pretty bad last week. Really did a lot of self-reflecting. Talked to us, talked to Sarah, talked to everybody that's involved in the podcast. And there's been a lot of encouragement, with some friends as well outside of everything. So, I'm willing to keep fighting.
Well, and ultimately, this is, regardless of what the numbers say, we know that, there are people that, get something out of the podcast. So,
yeah. Obviously, if our listenership is down, so be it. If the donations are coming in and it pays the bills for hosting and the website and everything, so be it. I'll keep going. That's fine. I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the fame. Clearly. If I wanted to be, this podcast would be different. Considerably different. Because, yeah, it doesn't take a genius to figure out how to make a podcast wildly successful. It is possible, and it's not super hard, but that's not the point of this podcast at all.
No, but I think the work you've been doing the last 3 years is, important. And so if there are people out there that we can reach that we haven't yet, then that's obviously preferable.
And that's why I want it to grow. Is I don't want to. Yeah, okay. Obviously, there's that little back of the mind. Hey, it would be great if we became huge and this became my full-time job. I don't have to go work for anybody else. Self-employed podcast. Awesome. That's a secondary goal. The primary goal is trying to help people. And so far, this podcast has helped a lot of people. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so glad to have been able to help people, help bring some peace of mind to others. And that's what we want to do. I want that to grow so we can reach more people. If we could save more people, we can help. Even some of my friends beforehand never even considered getting a therapist or checking out their own mental health. Because of the podcast, because of our guests, and because of stories that were shared, they realize, holy crap, that's me. Maybe I need to go get help, and their lives are better for it.
Well, and there's been definitely since we were kids, but even in the last, few years since the pandemic, there's been this sort of shift to people paying more attention to their emotional life and their feelings. And, it's moving more into the, quote unquote, masculine space where, that would have kind of been shunned away from before. And I've met a lot of men and fathers the last couple of years who are kind of going to find that for themselves for the first time. Paul, who we had on here, our neighbor a few weeks ago, is one of them. And it's an amazing shift. So we like to do what we can to support that because it's important for the kids and the parents and, just generally whoever they're walking next to on the street.
Right. Heck, I'm starting to see it even on YouTube. There's just trends. There's more and more videos about every walk of life getting help, not just certain segments, everybody, because mental health impacts everybody. You have a brain, I'm glad that emotions.
Exactly. I'm glad that it's starting to become something that's more recognized for everyone. It's not, mental health is not for, people who have issues, even though everyone has issues. Having, dealing with your mental health does not mean you're defective. It just means you're a person.
Right. And
everyone has it.
And if you happen to have a decent insurance, they usually have, I've seen it, when I worked at Apple, they have the concern line. It gives you 6 free sessions with a psychologist. 6 free sessions. You know what 6 sessions is? That's the same as taking a physical, but it takes multiple sessions to really gauge someone's mental health. And after 6 weeks, if there's something underlying that you need to address, a good therapist will be able to spot it. And there's nothing, even if you're feeling fine and you go for that 6 weeks, you may come out feeling better anyway, and you might not need meds. You might not need regular therapy. You might be one of those lucky ones that You did your 6 weeks. There's your physical. You're good. Do it again next year.
Right. Well, and I know like there are some, it's been rough for people the last couple of years. I know when I was with Kaiser, when I first got back into therapy after many years of not being in therapy, I could only see someone every 6 weeks because that was all that they had. So, it's while everybody's kind of having an awakening, it's also in some instances more difficult to get help right now. So having, people to talk to or listen to or just understanding that you're not alone is kind of key.
Yeah. And none of us here are therapists. Nothing that we give should be considered for your own diagnosis or whatever. You need a therapist to do the diagnosis. You need a professional to do it. But there is something to be said about the therapeutic value of hearing others. There's a reason why there's group therapy sessions that don't have a therapist. They're support groups. It's powerful.
Yes, and that's why we talk about, each guest we ask about coping skills and, what they've been through and what their path was, because it's individual for everyone, but you can always learn something, something to apply to your own situation or something to look out for, or I strongly believe that everyone has something to teach you.
I've had a number of guests that have come on that I've picked up things that have become daily routine for me now. It was like, hey, that's a cool idea. I'm going to... My SAD this year has not been nearly as bad as it has been in years past.
That's great.
And we had a hell of a lot of rain!
Yeah.
And Alice just threw in there about mental health awareness isn't where it was in the 80s and 90s. And
not at all.
Her entire family was so against mental awareness. It was rough growing up, that stigma associated. And I definitely had the more traditionalist father and a more progressive mother as far as mental health awareness stuff goes. Was my mom's coping skills great? Not necessarily. But she was really big on pushing for me to not bottle up my emotions like my dad did. My dad doesn't anymore. Yeah. She gave me the advice of, if you have to, go take a long shower. You could cry in the shower. And if you come out and your eyes are red, you got soap in your eyes. If you really must have your machismo and bravado. And was that a healthy coping skill? No. Was it better than bottling it up? Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
It was a coping skill that it did have value. Not the greatest, but it was something.
I'm kind of excited to see, what the next generation is like as they age, because people have become more aware and kids are taking that on more on board. It's not that being in school is a cakewalk. Kids are always going to be, mean, but, my son's father and I made a very, concerted effort to just let our son be who he is. He wanted to go to school with a pink sparkly backpack, and so he did. And thank God, it isn't the 80s, and he didn't have to, he was accepted for as he is, and a lot of kids are now. So I'm kind of interested to see what the more acceptance and, the focus on mental health does for, the next few years.
Yeah, and I'm also, I read through the DSM-4, got to compare it to the DSM-5, and it was awesome seeing the changes. I can't wait to see what the DSM-6 is going to look like, to be honest.
It's so funny when they change things, though, because it's like all of a sudden the terminology is different, but it's funny to see how that morphs. And yes, the greatest generation at ignoring red flags. I would say that's accurate.
Yeah, Alice was talking about grandparents ignored it, or downplayed it, and my whole family's a trifecta of mental illness. And I made the comment about the greatest generation at ignoring red flags, because it just goes to show how much things have changed. My grandparents were the greatest generation. My parents are boomers. I'm Gen X. I have millennial and Zoomers. and just watching just how things have played out has been amazing. I mean, quite honestly, our Gen X, we definitely are the fuck around, find out generation. We were the generation that,
for sure.
We were the ignored generation. We walked to school, walked home from school, did our homework, and cooked dinner. We know 15 different ways to remove blood from clothing. We were the fuck around, find out generation.
Yeah.
But man, do we have our baggage. Man, do we have our baggage.
Yeah. I think normal is such a loaded word.
Oh, yeah.
Alice said they saw it, they suffered from it. They felt that they had two functioning kids that were completely normal, even though they have mental health issues as well. They're just functioning members of society more than the other three. I think that, like I said, we need to normalize all of this, because really everybody is different. That's the way people work. There's not supposed to be a normal cookie cutter person, because that's not how nature works. That's not how life works. That's not how people work. And we need to stop pretending like it is.
Yeah.
The whole I'm okay, you're okay thing, like everybody has issues that they struggle with, and let's focus on that, because the problem is not that people are defective for having feelings, or, approaching issues in different ways, or approaching learning in different ways, or anything like that.
I mean, I think a good way to think about it is that not everything that is normal is healthy, and not everything that is healthy is normal. Normal is just what the society does in general.
Yeah.
I mean, we go back to the 1700s, and slavery was normal.
Yeah.
Was that healthy? No. Was that good? No. Is it normal now? Well, not in most of the world. Sadly, it's still normal in some parts of the world, but at least we, as a more enlightened society, air quotes, at least we realize that, yeah, all human life has value.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But yeah, again, it just shows how much normal has changed. It used to be normal to bottle up your feelings and just push through.
Yeah.
That's not normal anymore. Who knows what normal is going to be in 20 years. But it is a fun ride. I will say that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like a roller coaster. It's got its ups, its downs, its twists, its turns, its moments that everything's completely upside down and disorienting. But man, it is a fun ride.
Yes, it is. Alice, I'm so glad you made it.
Yeah, I was wondering who this Alice was, because there was another person I was trying to get to join on the podcast, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll show up," and maybe they did. Because we have a lot of lurkers.
Gotcha.
So yeah, the people who listen, they don't join the chat, they don't sign up accounts, and that's fine. If you are listening and you're wondering how do I join the chat, when you're on Spreaker.com, like if you go to our website, mimental.net, there's a big listen now button. You click on that, it takes you to the host, Spreaker.com. Sign up a free account. Opt out of everything if you want to. No big deal. They're not going to sell your information, and if you opt out, they're not going to bother you. But when you do that, you now have the ability to go ahead and set up your profile and join the chat room, and yeah. And then we get to read off what you have to say.
Yeah, and you can also go to Spreaker.com/show/mental livecast, and that will take you right to the current week's episode and the list of prior episodes.
Exactly. And we have quite the library now of episodes.
Right?
That is something I could definitely be proud to hang my hat on, is that we've been around. I mean, this was season 12. 4 seasons a year. Yeah, we've been around. I'm very, very happy with what we've done. Us said he told you about you already. Oh!
Yes. We were talking about having her on the show.
Yeah,
a couple days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, now I remember. Is I knew that, okay, I'm sorry, I'm not the fastest. Supposedly, I have a high IQ, but I don't see it.
I do too, but I have a big ADD handicap, so, they tend to even themselves out over time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's like, they the only IQ tests that actually seem to matter are the ones that are just pure logic and pure observation, because any IQ test that based on knowledge, well, then they're measuring your knowledge and how you apply it, which is definitely part of intelligence. But intelligence is more logic and reason. So the ones
right. Well, and there's like the spatial awareness and
pattern recognition,
that sort of thing too. Yeah.
Yeah, that all matters. Now, you know what? Since we're doing this right now, might as well just take a look. So in the last 30 days, obviously the United States is our largest listening area. But it's not even 85% of our listenership.
Oh, wow.
Number 2 is India, then Philippines, New Zealand, Austria, Guatemala, Nigeria, Sweden, Czechia, Spain, and Russia have been where we've been listened to over the last 30 days.
Oh, wow.
I love being able to see that.
Yeah, it always amazes me the sheer number of places that people visit from.
Yeah, and last year, it's United States, Spain, India, the UK, New Zealand, Netherlands, Italy, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, Australia, Ireland, Vietnam, Philippines, Denmark, Germany, Russia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. I know I thrashed that. Ghana, Finland, United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, Kenya, Turkey, Lithuania, and then 17 other nations. It is amazing where we've been listened to. Yeah, so I think that would be kind of a good stopping point. So look out for the announcements. Part of me wants to move back to the Thursdays again. Part of me wants to just try to push through and see how things go, staying on Saturdays. Like I said, if you have your input to put in, which Alice did raise here in the chat, saying Saturdays works better for her, which is awesome. That's what we need. That's what we're listening to, and that's what we're hearing. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah, and Kat put in earlier also
that Thursday.
That either is fine with her, except Thursday is usually the night she goes to meet a friend for dinner.
Once a month. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely jump on our Discord. Tell us where your mind's at. It's important to me, and I think I speak on behalf of the rest of the My Mental group of people here that's involved. That's important for all of us to know where you guys are at and what you're thinking.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's not like we're doing this for just us. Outside of that, there will be some other changes. The intro songs, I'm not going to be doing the 5-minute songs anymore. They're just too long. We're going to either do a 30-second or a 1-minute brief instrumental thing. And that'll be it, because that's pretty standard in the industry. If you guys want me posting a song per season, I could do that as a separate file. I don't mind. But that's, this is not about me and my music. It's up to you guys if you want me to or not. Just let me know. Otherwise,
It'd be awesome to have in the Discord.
Oh yeah, I'll just share it. I was going to say, I'll share it on the Discord. That's not a problem. We have an arts exhibit just for art, and music is art. So yeah, I will be sharing
the seasonal moods of Am I Mental?
They're the seasonal moods of E. Who has seasonal affective disorder. So wow, that's a theme. Let's go ahead and write that one.
Yeah, we'll have to look and see like what the moods have been like with your dad. That'd be interesting to see.
I could go ahead and post all the songs I've done.
That musical reflection.
That's you know what? I'm gonna have to do that now. I'm gonna have to listen to them all. But yeah, thank you everyone that's been listening. Longtime listeners, new listeners, and all of you in between. You guys are the best. And
thank
love
you, Kat.
guys.
Thank you, Bexy. Thank you, Alice.
Definitely. And Os, I know you're eventually going to listen, so thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, C. I know a lot of people are missing C. I miss C. C is busy. But yeah, no. We'll catch you guys in March. The second week of March, whether it's the 9th, which would be a Thursday, or the 11th, which is Saturday. I'm leaning towards the Saturday. We'll let you know in the Discord and all that. Like I said, I'm initially I was like, knee-jerk reaction, let's go back. Well, maybe we'll just rebuild on the Saturday. Maybe this is what I should have expected ahead of time. But again, it's more about getting guests on more regularly and more reliably. That's the big thing right now.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm E.
I'm Sarah.
And we'll catch you guys in a couple of weeks. I'm going to Michigan next weekend!
Woo-hoo.